Hi everyone, welcome to our next educational session, Optimize Your Menu. You guys are in for a real treat because this session is put on by the one and only Ed Doyle. Ed?
Well, and it's even, we're here in
right?
the Ed
quarters, right?
And we catch that, so.
Love it.
Good afternoon, how's everyone doing today? Excellent, excellent. Delighted to be here with you today. And I can't believe another year's gone by. We're going to talk about menu today. But we're going to talk about menu in a little bit of a different way than you may be thinking. We're not going to talk about your hamburger. We're not going to talk... Is that a train going by back there?
No, that was me putting this on the stand.
We're not going to talk about your hamburger. We're not going to talk about your fried rice. We are going to talk about menu strategy and the importance of really thinking about what is on your menu, why it's on your menu, and how we're going to optimize your menu to help you drive revenues and put more money to the bottom line. As Jen was kind enough to say, I'm Ed Doyle. I'm the president of RealFood Hospitality Strategy and Design. We're based out of Newton. We work across the entire hospitality spectrum, touching every part of it from K through 12 to James Beard award-winning chefs. Google's one of our largest clients, developers, broad range of services. And as I said, we are RealFood Hospitality Strategy and Design. And we list those tags in that order for a reason. Everything we do is building to a differentiated, consistent, and achievable hospitality experience. We need to understand where we're trying to get to from the guest point of view before we do anything. Then aligning that with a strategy, an operation strategy, a business strategy. Every client defines success slightly differently. So making sure that we understand how each of our clients is trying to define their own success, making sure that our hospitality experience aligns with their strategic direction. And then lastly, we design. Whether we're designing a kitchen, whether we're designing your menu, or we're designing your P&L, we're able to achieve better results by starting at the end, starting with the experience that we're all working to achieve and making sure that all of our work is supporting your business strategy. The work that we do is half design, half operations. So food service design, you do not want me picking your paint colors, but you do want us working with your architectural team to make sure that you have the highest performing, most efficient facility possible. The other part of our work is the operations. Conceive it, fix it, grow it, scale it, help it make more money. And of course, much of the work that we do blends both of those worlds. That is truly one of our unique differentiators. Our team brings over 300 years of hospitality experience to every engagement. So, and we're truly passionate hospitality people. So let's start with the end, the hospitality experience. You know, hospitable treatment, reception, or disposition. Now, how does that come into the menu discussion? Well, obviously, the menu, the food, the beverage, is the transactional part of what we do. That is why people come to us, to eat, to drink. But it is the vehicle that allows us to deliver unique hospitality experiences. Anybody ever eaten in a restaurant where they do a tableside Caesar salad or a tableside guacamole? That is a menu item creating a unique part of the experience. So to think about how your menu and how you put your menu together and what you put on your menu aligns with your brand, aligns with what you're trying to create, and helps define the hospitality experience is a critical part of what we're going to talk about today. And today is a tough place. And it's wonderful to be here and getting a lot of great ideas about how we as an industry can continue to improve. But you know, there's tremendous headwinds. Cost of goods, inflation is not going away. And when inflation goes away, those aren't going back down. So how are we as an industry, how are we building menus, how are we pricing our product and putting our strategies together that are going to help us still get enough to the bottom line? Supply chain disruptions continue. Product availability, wages, tremendous pressure, 20% wage increases over the last 2 years. That's a huge number for us to absorb in an industry where the independent restaurateur averages 4% net profit. 4%. And 2/3 of the restaurants are understaffed. Every single one of these has a seat at the table when we're talking about menu. Because menu is going to be designed and developed to help address these challenges and succeed in spite of them. And then we're dealing with a changing workforce. 3 out of 4 restaurant workers are planning on leaving their job next year. Do you think that kind of turnover might have impact on the consistency of my menu and the skills of my team and how I put that menu together? Tremendous impact. How do we program our menus to counteract its negative force? 62% of restaurant workers say the main reason for leaving their job is lack of training. How many people apron string train people? Anybody know what that is? Your first day on the job, you're going to follow her. Consider yourself trained, right? And we do this in the kitchen, we do this in the dining room. We need to make our menus, our technology, and our systems easier to train on, easier to make our staff feel like they're being successful, to give them the tools to be successful so we can retain them. Critical part of what we do. In the restaurant business, we like making it hard. I'm not sure why, but sometimes we make things a lot harder than we have to. So let's see if we can get a little smarter about that. And then certainly we're seeing the employees leaving because of the lack of work-life balance. And that's not just the time, right? That's just not how much time I'm in the kitchen or behind the bar. That is how hard my work is. When I go home, am I wrecked, right? Is it harder than it has to be? How do we make sure that we're not asking staff to do superhuman things every day? And a lot of that comes back to how we put our menus together and how we build our strategies for servicing our guests and delivering a hospitality experience. So all of these things sit with a higher standard from our customers. They want better. They want more consistent. They want more differentiated experiences. They're looking for value. Value and price are two different things, right? Value can be delivered in a lot of non-tangible ways, and it doesn't necessarily mean lowering the price on your hamburger. Done properly, I can raise the price on your hamburger and still get a positive response from the clients on the value proposition. And then lastly, our guests are looking for experiences. It is an experience economy that we're living in. So how do we make sure the menu items we create, the beverages we serve, the cocktail programs we develop, all support our staff's ability to deliver a richer experience in the restaurant? It's a challenge because it's a very competitive space that we live in. Everyone's trying to do cool and different stuff. But with some careful planning, we're going to be able to deliver something that really wows our guests. Because we're in a world where it is all piling up on us. So we've got to find better solutions and better ways to help do what we do. COVID absolutely ransacked our industry. It's so great to see it raging back as it is. But the one thing about our industry is we can't think about when we're going back to what it was. It will never be what it was pre-COVID. That's both good and bad. I truly believe that COVID created an opportunity for us to reinvent what we do. How many people shrunk their menus during COVID? How many people are rushing to put those menu items back? Did you find out when you took stuff off your menu, like, and nobody noticed? We thought we needed that menu item, right? The kitchen runs smoother now. The other food on the menu is more consistent. So to think about the stuff that we do, that we, just because we've always done it, is probably a pretty good place to start. Is that feedback, or is
I don't know.
Is that a drill in my head? I'm not quite sure.
I'm going to find out.
Terrific. So our industry is at the precipice of an opportunity for change, because change is a requisite. And I will tell you, anybody ever see this quote before? Insanity. Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. We do a tremendous amount of work in the club space. And one thing that's unique in the club space is everybody wants to eat at 6:30. So what happens is the dining room gets flat seated, right? You're in a private club, very responsive to the guest. Everybody sits down at 6:30, kitchen gets hammered. Kitchen can't get the food out. After service, chef walks out to the host stand and says, "You sat too many people at once." It's a private club environment. You could tell them they have a 7:30 reservation when they want to eat at 6:30. They're still coming at 6:30. So chef, let's get your menu built so you can execute it under those circumstances. We continue to do things that make our life harder and harder and harder. We continue to slam our hand in the car door to make our lives difficult. Keep in mind that what happens in the kitchen or behind the bar and what the guest thinks happens in the kitchen or behind the bar can be two very different things and still be highly successful. The complexity of the food that we prepare is not constrained to that magical time between when that chip pops up on the printer and it goes out of the window. The work that we do prior to that, how we batch prepare products, how we build our menu items so it is not requiring 5 saute pans to pick up a dish, are the things that are going to drive success in your menu. Production work. How many people do hand-cut French fries? How are they? When they're good, they're really good, right? And then when the potatoes get cold or we run out of russet Burbanks or any of the 19 other reasons that make French fries not be great, what happens? They're soggy, they don't get crispy, they get blotchy. So I'm going to rewind my presentation. What was I just talking about? Consistency, right? So you, and I'm going to pick on you because I love picking on people about hand-cut French fries. You are doing a hell of a lot of work to hand-cut, well, store all the potatoes, then hand-cut them, then soak them, then blanch them, then tray them. Do you freeze them? Okay. Then basket them up, and then cook them. What happens on a Saturday night when you run out of hand-cut French fries? Disaster. So we're going through all of this to continue to make a product that the person that's making it admits is inconsistent. And through no fault of your own, right? Because potatoes, russet potato, you buy the right potato, russet Burbank, really starchy potato. When they get cold, inside the potato, the starches convert to sugar. Starches get crispy, sugar gets brown, doesn't get crispy. So if you don't have a properly climate-controlled, semi-dehydrated Burbank potato, you can't get a consistent product out of it. So we have so many parts of our industry where that's the example. Because somewhere along the line, chefs like me, I used to do it. Hell, I used to make my own ketchup. Somebody should have punched me in the head. We decided these things make us better as chefs. It makes me feel important. I do hand-cut French fries. You know who does really, really good French fries? Lamb Wesson, Kane, Ore-Ida, because you know what they do? Just that. So meanwhile, on a Saturday night when we run out of French fries and the whole kitchen is running around stomping out French fries, meanwhile, the piece of fish coming off the fish station is getting overcooked. The burger that's going with the fries that we're scrambling around to get is not getting seasoned properly, right? So we have taken one thing that we thought makes us special. It in fact makes our food less consistent, and we're tying up labor here instead of building a menu item that's going to let us focus on the stuff that's really important. Getting the food out of the kitchen in a timely manner, cooking the burger properly, seasoning the burger properly. Instead, we're messing around and pumping a ton of labor into something that doesn't help us. And I use that as an example, and I use that as an example all the time. Thank you for letting me pick on you. I appreciate it. Because we, as people in this industry, we know what we know. Like I, as a chef, I was lucky enough to work in a bunch of restaurants. That's what I knew. And unless someone brought me a new way to do something, when it came time for me to make a pizza, make hollandaise sauce, make a steak, I knew what I knew. So what we need to do is be comfortable with the fact that it gets better for the hospitality experience, better strategy because it gets easier for our staff to be successful, right? We get more efficient so we can design a better system that's going to have you have happier guests and you making more money. Sounds like a pretty good solution, right? Part of it starts here. You guys are here for a reason, right? You came to the food show not because you wanted to be indoors at the BCEC on a nice Sunday, but because you're here to learn. and find new solutions. Find a different way to approach menu, right? Thinking about how technology, whether it's smart cooking technology, whether it's value-added product, portion fish, anything that can help you deal with the headwinds, that long list of headwinds, to build your menu smarter and better, to put better food on the plate. Look, as a chef, I always had these great dishes in my head. I'm gonna make it, it's wonderful when I make it. But then the kitchen gets busy on a Friday night, somebody calls in sick. Nobody else can make that dish the way I make it. It's inconsistent, it's not right, it's not the way I envisioned it. The customer that had it yesterday when I made it comes in the next day and has it again, and they're going, this is a different dish. So we are delivering an inconsistent product because we've built a menu that, for all of the headwinds that we saw, for all the challenges that we face, we can't execute it, right? I've said again and again and again, I would rather see a restaurant be a B+ restaurant every single day than an A today and a C tomorrow and a D the next day and an A+ the day after that. Because when you get to that B+ every single day, it becomes the foundation upon which you can build. And then you only go up, you don't go down. So to think about, in your kitchen, on your menu, at your bar, what are the things that you're doing that aren't adding value? If it isn't adding value to the guest on their plate, time in, time out, you gotta stop doing it. Or you gotta accept the fact that you're making your life and your staff's life more difficult than it has to be. We can't keep doing it the way we used to. And working together, sharing tricks, hacks, solutions from out here is really the first step to getting out of our own way, to doing things differently, because we have inertia in this industry. I show up, I start doing this, I walk in the kitchen, I turn all the fans on, I turn all the burners on, I start cooking. It's just muscle memory. So we need to make a conscious effort to rethink our menus. And we're gonna start back where we started, with hospitality strategy and design, and we're gonna think about how each of those things can be iterated through our actual menu items. Remember, the only reason we're here is for the guest, right? Not for how I like to cook food. Unless the guest gets what the guest expects and is as good or better than the last time the guest came to us, we're missing the boat. So we need to get out of our ego, get out of our own way, especially as chefs, and put ourselves in the customer position. How many people have a service time standard for their restaurant? Entree should be on the table in no less than X. You're nodding your head, Steve. What do you got? What's your number? 7 minutes? That's a quick restaurant. But I like it. The reason I ask that question is not that there's a perfect number. I can't sit here today and tell you for all of your restaurants it should be 7 minutes or 12 minutes or 15 minutes. But what I can tell you is every single one of you should have a standard. Because how else are you going to determine if I can make that dish quickly enough? When I'm busy, when I'm slow, at all different levels of staff, right? So we start connecting the guest experience and saying, we're still going to get the entree out of the kitchen in under 15 minutes on a Friday night when we're packed, the place is jamming, and I have all my staff. Or conversely, on the Tuesday night when I have 2 people in the kitchen trying to make it work on a slow night, right? So those standards flip the script and have us be in the customer's point of view, right? So when you start thinking about dishes, that beef Wellington that's going to take 20 minutes to cook, if your service standard is 15 minutes per entree, can you put that Wellington on your menu? Maybe if every time a customer orders it, you go, I hate to tell you this, but that's going to take 20 minutes. It's really delicious. We cook it from scratch, blah, blah, blah. It's super special. Or you say, you know what? That's not the right dish for us. So you start creating filters and fences for your menu that'll help you determine what goes on your menu or not. Of course, operational excellence, creativity, variety, consistency, and style. Because that's what we do. It's got to be great. If it isn't great, don't serve it. Period, stop. I don't care whether you're a hot dog stand or the finest dining restaurant out there. If you bite into something or drink something and you don't go, that's awesome, keep working it. And it's got to be awesome every time. It's got to be creative. It's got to have dynamic menus these days. Guests come back, we want it changing, we want it seasonal. How are we going to be able to do that? This is what I love. We need to design our menus for the extra. If everyone in your facility is running at 110% all the time, what happens when you get that special customer request? They want something done a little bit differently. You have an allergy. You have someone that wants something prepared a little differently. If you say yes, the whole machine kind of breaks because everybody's already running around with their hair on fire. I say take the opposite approach. Build your menus so you leave room for the extra. Yes, there will always be times that we're running at 110%, but we can't run at 110% all the time. So by building your production capability in your factory with what you're making, that enables your staff to have a little bit of bandwidth to say yes and do something special, will make your restaurant that much better and help you deliver experiences to the guest. Excellent is always excellent. What's that mean? We heard a lot during COVID. Bear with us, we're short-staffed. I'm sorry, I don't have that on the menu. Didn't come out right. Sorry, the guy in the grill's new. If we want to hold ourselves to a standard of truly being excellent, it either is excellent or it isn't. And that doesn't mean you're always going to be excellent. But if we start making excuses for ourselves, we stop that desire to achieve excellence and always trying to improve. So to think about that through the menu lens, making sure that you're not putting things on the menu that you can't make right every time. We've all made dishes like that. You know, as soon as we get busy, it kind of just goes off the rails a little bit. So how do we fix that? That doesn't mean make the dish go away, right? There's 9 different ways to make a hamburger. Let's figure out the most efficient way to do it to let you have the best outcome for your guests. And then this one, defining an environment where our staff feels like they were thought about, valued, and supported. I grew up in a time where you just ducked and didn't get hit by the flying frying pan. Thank God we have left that behind. I hope our industry has become, I'll use the word of the moment, woke around how we treat our staff, because we have a long history of the restaurant industry, the hospitality industry, being an environment where people are disposable. We're not going to be able to retain them. We're not going to have them be successful. We are not going to have them performing at their highest standard unless they feel like we care, that they feel like we work with them to understand what works well on the saute station. Hey, you can't give me 3/4 of the menu coming off these 6 burners. It just won't work. But unless we talk to the people that actually have to do the work and bring them into the process, they're not going to feel like we care. They're not going to be successful. They're not going to stay, and they're not going to do their best work. So I would really say that, that really kind of goes to the top of the list. And it's not just about menu, it's about everything we do, but in the menu it's really important because those are the folks, the men and the women that are behind the bar in the kitchen, banging out the work every day, that we need to make sure that we're saying, hey, is there a way we can make this easier? This actually, if you sit down with your staff, sometimes you'll come to a conclusion and they'll go, yeah, we knew that was a stupid idea 6 months ago. Well, why didn't you tell me? Because you never asked, right? So we need to include our staff in the menu process to really help us understand how we're going to define our experiences. And then on the strategy, really understanding how your restaurant defines success. Now that can be different by meal period. That can be different by, are we doing takeout? Are we doing dine-in? But you need to make sure that you have measurement criteria for pretty much everything. Because if it doesn't get measured, it's not important, right? And if you want to manage it and understand what's working and what isn't, we need to assign criteria to it. So back to the idea about ticket times. Steve, I'm going to come back to you with your 7-minute bowl. How do you know it was 7 minutes or not? You get a KDS? Awesome. KDS. Tracking time, measuring the time out of the kitchen. How many people have walked into their kitchen, stood behind the chef who's expediting, who's in front of a ticker tape parade of paper, and you go, how's it going? He's going, it's going great. And you look over here at the last ticket that's like 45 minutes old, right? Because as chefs, we're delusional, man. We're back there working hard. Everything must be going right, but we're not measuring it, right? So a simple task of when an item, if you're on paper still, you know, a lot of people are still on printer paper, write the time that the item goes out of the kitchen. And then at the end of the night, just grab the stack and you thumb through, how did we do? You gotta measure it if it's important, right? So understanding what success looks like. What's your food cost, right? I was for the, Chris Taccio, who's on my team, was up here earlier talking about financials and the importance in the restaurant world. Your food costs. There is no, I can't stand here and say your food cost should be 33%. You know, maybe your food cost should be 27 based on your strategy. Maybe it should be 62 if you're a private club. Understanding what your strategy is and how you're defining success informs your menu. What are we building the dishes to do? Not just from a guest point of view, but from the strategic point of view. So to understand how you're defining success and how each menu choice, what you offer, impacts you getting closer to that success or not. And clearly defining the key metrics that determine the success or failure of our efforts. I'm going to keep harping on this time. Do you think it would be helpful if on Tuesday at pre-meal, as all do pre-meal every day, right, where you get all your team together for 5 or 10 minutes to talk about yesterday, today, to have the kitchen crew there and go, guys, we did 150 covers last night, not one of them went over 15 minutes. Or to have that data that you share with them that says, hey guys, we missed it here, about a half hour, we really fell behind, what happened? All too often, we gather data at the management level and we don't share it down with our team. Bringing them into the conversation as the people who are responsible for delivering those results, bring them into the conversation, let them be part of it, share the data back with them. Productivity. Menu drives productivity. We're in the manufacturing business. We manufacture two things: food and beverage and a perception of hospitality. How efficiently can we do that? And that is not a measurement of what your labor cost is. That is a measure of productivity. One of the best ones to use is hours per cover, right? Because whether I'm cooking a hamburger or a filet mignon, it's about the same number of steps. Filet mignon costs 3 times what a hamburger does. So the labor percentage gets swayed. The amount of time that went into that plate did not. So hours per cover is a super productivity measure to look at how much time is going into my menu items, right? So to think about where are the inefficiencies in my process. We all have that 45 minutes of the Friday night dinner rush where it's just like, oh my God, if one thing goes wrong, it's all gonna fall off and twisted metal and broken glass, right? So how do we get it so our team can be a little more elastic for that 45 minutes? Because then I don't need to add that other cook or that other server, right? For just that 45 minutes. And then what am I gonna do with them for the other 7 hours and 15 minutes of the day? We need to figure out how we can help our team be more productive and stretch. Through process, production, thinking about the roasted chicken dish. This is one I love to use as well. You order the roast chicken that's got lovely pan-roasted vegetables and a nice jus. Chicken comes in, I've already got it par cooked, I put it on the sizzle platter, I throw it in the oven. My saute pan. I start sauteing my onions, my mushrooms, pan-roasting my tomatoes, my jus, all of that wonderfulness, right? Then the chicken comes out, put it all together. Wouldn't it be really cool if I did all of that happiness during the production cycle and then loaded up all those beautiful vegetables into a nice copper skillet? The order comes in, I splash the hot jus on it, I throw it in the oven. I touched it once instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, and I will tell you, that dish will be more consistent. The more you can reduce the frequency of batching, the more consistent product gets. Alfredo sauce. Everybody loves any kind of Alfredo, right? Do you think there's any difference in the quality of an Alfredo sauce that's made 5 ounces or 50 ounces? Exact same ingredients, exact same process. I'm just making a bigger batch. It will be more consistent. It will be faster. My kitchen crew will be more consistent, right? The food on the plate will be more consistent. We've all over-reduced that sauce. Oh gee, gotta splash a little pasta water in there to thin that back out. That tastes different than the one yesterday. And look, I want to be clear. This is not about cutting corners. This isn't about making your food any less delicious. This is about looking at everything on your menu, whether it's a food item or a beverage item, and making sure that every step that you're putting into it is intentional and is delivering a return to either the guest or to your strategy or to your profitability, right? You make it as hard as you want. Make your own ketchup. Just be damn sure that that ketchup is delivering value to a customer. I used to make a ketchup from scratch that I would serve to my customers, and they would go, this is a really great ketchup. Can I get a bottle of Heinz? Literally, I am not joking. So again, we were taking a lot of time to do something that me as a chef thought made us better, but didn't resonate with any of our guests. And the best thing is, once I stopped making that ketchup, I could take that time and use it for something that did matter to the guests, like cooking their hamburger right. And most importantly, how do I make it easier for my team to execute? I want my team to be successful. They're going to take care of me if they feel successful in the work that they're doing. Okay, and then the design side of designing our menu. You got to be intentional about your menu planning, right? You making the most of your menu is strictly a result of intentional decisions. Really, standing in your kitchen and watching what people are doing is fascinating. Like, you're not there to manage, you just watch it. If you really want to have fun, set up a video camera and watch it on high speed. And you'll see all the movements that people are doing and all the silliness that we do in our spaces that make us inefficient. Again, we talked about those key metrics. If you have a restaurant that is on the waterfront where everyone comes to see the sunset, you think you're gonna get flat seated every night? Heck yeah, right? So let's make it so your menu, how big it is, how complex it is, aligns with those needs, right? The menu for a 400-seat restaurant is gonna be very different than the menu for a 40-seat restaurant, right? We wanna make sure that we're planning appropriately. And be realistic about what you can do. You've got to align your team, your menu, with the team that you have, right? How many people you have, the skill sets of the people you have. You know, we lost a lot of people from the industry during COVID. They haven't come back yet. We have a lot of new people in our industry that may not have had that same career pathway that many people did prior to COVID. So we're dealing with a workforce that is a little less experienced, right? If we don't temper our demands on them, they're not going to be successful. And if they're not going to be successful, they're not going to be making our food right. And targeting efficiencies. Again, I'm going to go back to the fact that we as restaurateurs know what we know. We've got to look at everything we're doing and go, there's got to be a better way to get a better product out of that. To walk around here and see some of the new technology, see some of the new ovens, the combi ovens, the high-speed ovens, the vector ovens, things that help you build a menu that lets your cooks do a better job. Again, we're not cutting corners. We're just not necessarily starting out every dish with a saute pan in our hand, right? We're setting our teams up for success by thinking about our menu and building a menu around the solutions. I can't tell you how many kitchens I go into that have a $30,000 combi oven on their hotline, turned up to 500 degrees, and they're using it just like a boring old convection oven. Because they haven't connected the menu with the technology, right? So they haven't garnered the efficiencies. And I will tell you, in most of those situations, it's because the technology is beyond what the chef understands. So they're not comfortable making that switch. So if you are going to invest in technology, to make sure that you connect the dots, work with the manufacturer, work with the folks that develop that combi oven, to bring them in to train and to help you program and to help you understand what that can be. And then you close the loop and you go, cool, it can do that? I mean, I can do this menu item now, right? So you start thinking about how you redo what you do with the new capabilities of that beautiful Ferrari oven you just bought. Get it out of first gear. Really start driving that thing hard and think differently about how you function in your space. And then the other thing, this never stops, right? That's the hard part. This is a constant cycle of trial and error and perfection, right? And again, including your staff in this solution is critical. Including your management team in this is critical. To be able to say, okay, hey, what are we gonna do? Let's try it. Let's see how it did. Let's measure it. Okay, we got to tweak it a little bit. Maybe that item wasn't right. Tweak it, tune it. It's a constant cycle to improve your operational expertise to get to better guest outcomes. Because here, the rule is, I'm telling you, we cannot do what we did pre-COVID, pre-whenever, yesterday, the day before. There's too much pressure on our industry right now. There's too many headwinds that we're facing. We got to rethink it, right? So we got to be comfortable letting go. Because if you build your menu intentionally, you're going to get a hospitality experience that sets you apart from the competition. You're going to have an operation that runs better, you're going to have staff that are happier, and you're going to have better food and beverage on the plate and the glass at the end of the day. So, open up some questions, comments.
If you have questions, raise your hand. I'll come to you with a microphone so we can hear you.
No question.
No, there's no. Maybe you just covered everything we need to know.
Maybe, Jen. Maybe. So, well, there's my contact information. Certainly, if anyone wanted to follow up, be happy to have a conversation with you. But you know, I think these are totally challenging times, and I'm excited to see our industry continue to reinvent itself. And we need to be comfortable kind of unmooring ourselves from how we used to do it. Really think about how we can approach what we do. So, thank you for letting me ramble on. I hope you guys enjoyed the rest of the show.
It was a great session, Ed. Thank you so much.